Afternoon, everybody. It's about 4:15 or so on Wednesday, the 19th of February, back over to continue work. Got obviously some filler to block out here. I'm also going to mix up a little bit real quick. I had some spots over here that I ran out on filler on. I got a little ding right here that I didn't get, and then I got that little ding that's on that sill over there. I'm going to get all those and then move on to blocking them out. And then start making my way around the body slowly but surely and looking for places to sand down some fiberglass filler and stuff like that. It's probably not going to be very exciting visit, but I'll make progress nonetheless. Initial round of blocking out is done. The sail plate, it still is in pretty bad shape. I got some filler more to do, some high spots in here that I want to knock down. But I got that little guy done. A couple of these little guys here. I got to fill that in over there. But the rest of that's all right in this little spot down here. Then I start getting into that low repair. I haven't started that yet. Unfortunately, I found a hole in the, this is not where I repaired it the other day. This was from the previous repairs. Interestingly, it's actually below where I put the patch in, so I just smoothed that metal down and probably ground it down too much, so I'm just going to cut that square out and go and take that out. It doesn't look too bad from the back, actually. I also have decided that I'm going to put the boot in Raptor liner. I've got to figure out where I want the Raptor liner to stop. I don't want to put it in the passenger compartment anywhere. So I've got to make sure that, figure out a good place to stop that. But like the wheel arches will be visible, but a lot of this stuff won't be visible anyway. So I'll just figure that out in some future visit. So I want to get some hammer and dolly work on the sail plate a little bit to get those high spots down. I'm not going to work on the lows too much because I'm afraid I'm going to start cracking the filler and I'll just make it worse. But I do want to pay some attention to that. Again, like I said, probably not a very exciting evening of video here. That's why I'm not really doing any action shots. You guys don't want to see me blocking anymore. Between Ellen and I, you're probably ready to gouge your eyes out. So, yeah, so we'll keep going and I'll give you an update here a bit. Got that hole filled. I had to cut a little bit further back. I found another little spot. So, but that came out all right. That should be nice and steady now, nice and strong. No problem there. Got the filler on a couple spots here. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to work on this filler for about 20 or 30 minutes and get it kind of faired in there. Then I'm going to spin the car around and I'm going to look at that sill transition since I got the welder out and see if I can do anything about that. No real time frame here. I'm definitely not looking to paint anything tonight. And maybe I don't want to paint anything until I'm ready to paint the whole thing, so I don't intend to rush to get a particular thing done before I paint. Got a lot of the block sanding done, not all of it. This is a pretty good low spot here from where I tried to repair it with whatever fell on the car or whatever, so I don't know if I'm going to need to take hammer and dolly to that again or what. But for the most part, it's not too bad again. Still some work. That oil can got a little worse there. I think what I'm going to try to do is hit this obvious high spot here and maybe in that general area because that's definitely where it's focused. Try to hit that with the shrinking disc and see if I can take a little bit of that out. The other side, maybe I'll try that too. I'm not too sure. But I got down here with this seam, and if you can kind of tell, it's a little subtle, but it obviously is not that great of a job. And if you can see from the back, the B-post sinks in quite a bit. That's probably a solid 1/4 inch up here. The gap between the flush part of the sill and then that little notched part of the B-post. Now the B-post is stepped right there, but I never really did that great of a job. So what I'm going to try to do, I also, you can see, I think, tacked it here and tacked it down here just to kind of get it together. Probably getting frustrated at that point. But what I'm going to try to do, I think, and I'm not too sure how much metal I have here. I get a couple options. Right, I can build metal out of here. Right, one thing I can do is I can just fill this entire seam with weld metal and just weld it up tight and then cut a groove back in it. Factory shows the seam. I want to try to maintain that look at least, even if it's fake. But what I think I'm going to try to do is drill a small hole and kind of come in at an angle a little bit and then drill a small hole through the B-post and put a sheet metal screw in there and see if I can draw these together at all. I may or may not be able to do that. I'm going to keep the tack welds in there for now to try to give me a little bit of leverage or a little bit of stability. So I'll try to do that. I might wreck it a little bit doing that. I'm not too concerned. Again, I can always fill this with weld metal and may just end up doing that anyway, or adding a little piece of metal to it or something like that and then grinding it smooth. But whatever, we're gonna see what we can do here real quick. It's about 10 of 8 and we're getting a little bit of weather out there. So I'm just gonna give it a quick shot and then call it a night. So it did what I thought it might and just essentially sucked in the outer sill into the B-post, because with the notch in that B-post, that's gonna be a lot stronger and a lot stiffer. So the weaker metal, unsupported metal, which is the sill, is gonna bend in. So, I don't know. I'll think about it. If you got any ideas, please leave a comment. Let me know what you think. Welcome back, everybody. It's Sunday morning, about 8 o'clock or so. It's a dreary, rainy, nasty day out there, and I've got a little bit under the weather. Almost a man cold. Not quite a man cold yet, but it's getting there. So we'll see how it goes today. Before I get started in back on the bodywork, I got some housekeeping issues to take care of here. If you notice in this wing with the replacement of the fender, there's no hole for the rear bumper. So as you can see over here, there's a hole down there. That guy right there. I already put the holes in the rear valance, and I'm not exactly remembering how this mounts up, but you've got a brace bar that comes here and a brace bar that comes down to those holes, and that essentially mounts the fender, and then the fender goes, a mounting bracket goes through here and bolts to the fender. They wrap around. Anyway, they're in the back of the garage over there. I'm going to dig this side out, line this up, and get that drilled in. I want to do that and get that taken care of before I do any more painting, so that I get those newly exposed areas cleaned up. Also, obviously, I have to clean up the inside where all my welding was over there. And I also have here a rear tail light, blinker light, I believe this is. And all I want to do is make sure that the holes that I drilled, this guy right here, when I drilled for the rear valance, because the rear valance doesn't come with any holes, you had to drill those in, and I copied it off of the original one. I want to make sure that those line up as well. So I'm going to take care of that real quick and then get that hole drilled. If I can find my rear fenders or rear bumpers, and we'll continue on from there. So here's a close-up of the tail light turn signal holes, and pretty simple attachment. You got these little oblong cutouts here, and you just have these little clips, and they just fit in there, and they capture the screws on this guy. This has got three screws here and here and one at the top, and it mounts vertically like this. So you got the 2 screw holes that hold on the lens here and here, and they'll go straight up and down. At least that's what it looks like with the lettering and all that kind of stuff. But if you can see there, the hole that I cut doesn't extend far enough out so that half of the clip half of the hole is blocked by the clip itself. And that's consistent with the way that the front is on the bonnet. Those are pretty oblong holes. So I've got some rough marks here to where that needs to be. I'm getting the same problem on the other side where I just didn't go deep enough with the holes or more oblong enough. Problem is I don't really have anything good right here right now over at the shop to grind those holes out. I don't have my Dremel with the little burr wheel on it, so I'm going to give it a shot to the cutting wheel and see if I can fit that in there. But if it looks like I'm going to do some damage, I'm going to stop. Alright, well that seemed to work out pretty well. You can see I still got some bare metal in here. I don't have that flush, but I don't think I'm going to really worry about it. You put the lamp in, and now all those holes line up, at least where it looks like I'll be able to get the screws in. Unfortunately, I don't have the screws. Or if they are, they're buried somewhere. I don't know where they are. But of note, you got this little rubber offset, and what that does is I think you can see how it's not obviously level. and the lamp fits in there. There's these 3 little cutouts. This is the ground spot for the lamp where the lead comes in to ground out the lamp. And I'm pretty sure you put that in and that goes on to the bottom. It's got a little like extra cutout there for it. And then this whole thing just kind of fits up and it levels it out. And thankfully, this guy's in pretty good shape. Still pretty flexible. There's no tears in it. There's a little bit of deformation at the bottom here where it kind of flares out just from years. If you could see that on profile, I'm not sure if you could see it kind of flaring out just from the years, I think, of being on there. But I'm not so sure that you can get these anymore. You may be able to, but these are in great shape. Thankfully, I think these came off of Dorothy. I can't remember if I had them on the black car or not. I was up in my attic yesterday looking for this stuff. But anyway, this one's good to go. I'll do the other one, and then we'll get to putting this rear bumper on. One more thing I wanted to point out about these holes before I move on is you can kind of see there that it looks like that top hole is off center to the right a little bit, and that is how it is. If you look at the lamp here itself, the top, put it in the right way here. That top hole there, the very, very top, that guy up there, is where the light lens bolts on, and then this guy here, that one there, that's those mounting holes, and you can see that the top one there is off to the right a little bit, so definitely not cardinal directions, not straight up and down, I should say, so just be aware of that if you have to find yourself doing something similar. Got this rear fender on here. Or the bumper, I should say. A little bit of paint in the rear. There's several attachment points. So you've got this arm in here, which obviously needs to be painted, and this is the little part for the jack, which I don't have a jack. So then this part comes through and attaches to the overrider up at the top. The arm at the bottom, which bolts through into this support arm right there, if you can see that, and that bolts through the bumper and into the overrider. And then the piece where I need to drill the hole is this guy right here, and there's a nut bolt that goes through there. And I believe these are all rubber grommeted as well. You can see, I think that's not in the center at all there, so that'll be interesting to try to get that to line up. And I've also got a slight problem there where I've got the bumper touching, or the bumper touching the trim piece here, the finisher piece. That's going to have to get taken care of. The finisher piece looks like it's sticking out a little bit further there than it probably otherwise should have. So I'm either going to have to etch out the little bit of the bumper or etch out a little bit of the finisher piece. Probably the bumper, unfortunately, because I don't think there's a whole lot of finishing piece in there unless I weld it over. But otherwise, just over time, this is going to sit here and vibrate, and it's eventually either going to just dig into it and or chip the paint and everything like that. So that'll be something I need to take care of. But anyway, this is pretty well put in, and I think it's relatively centered. So what I'm going to do now is kind of mark a hole in here. It's not going to be real easy because you don't have a whole lot of access in here. I'm not quite sure how I'm going to do that yet. But I'm also going to go to the other side. If you can see the hole there to the outside, you've got the larger hole in the support strengthener that's in the boot, and then it goes through to the hole on the outside. That's about 5/8 of an inch. That's the piece that comes in and bolts through and just attaches into here. So I'm going to take some measurements over there, some measurements over here, try to compare the two, get it lined up pretty well, do some pilot hole when I finally get there and all that kind of stuff. But I'm not quite sure how I'm going to measure this all up yet, but we'll see how it goes. So I took this piece of cardboard here, had it on the other side, and taped it up, flushed it on the bottom of the trim piece down here. Sorry there. Flushed it on the bottom of the trim piece on the other side. Drew from the inside through that little hole there a circle to trace out where the cutout was in the wing. Brought it over here, had to flip it over and rotate it up so that the orientation was proper, and then taped it on here, and it looks like it's going to line up just fine. So I'll get a little bit of a lift out of the fender, which I'm all right with, or excuse me, out of the bumper, which is fine. And I'm going to leave that template up there, take this bumper back off, even though it's paint in the rear, and I'd love to leave it on. It's going to get in my way, however. This should clean up really nice, I'm hoping, too, with the polish. I don't think I'm going to be needing any rear bumper work at all, which is good. There's little rubber pieces that go in here in between those. I have those already. Anyway, back to the point at hand. So I'll drill a little pilot hole, and then I'm going to go ahead and drill the with the step drill here, wherever that thing is. This guy here, it's about 5/8 of an inch is about the diameter. And then I'm going to call it good. I don't intend to bolt it back up because I think it's going to be fine. And yeah, there we go. So as a final check, taking a tape measure here and just going from trying to keep it about parallel from the tip of the wheel arch to the center of the hole, and I'm looking at about 14.5 centimeters or so, give or take. And then from the center of the hole, just again trying to keep it parallel, looking at about I don't know, 11.3, 11.4 centimeters there. We'll go to the other side and see what that looks like. All right, so again, still just a template from the wheel arch at about 15, so a little bit, maybe 14.8 or so, so a little bit in. So I'll double check that, and it looks like we're right on height, about 11.3, 11.4 millimeters there. So it looks like I need to go forward just a little bit, half a centimeter or so. I'll double check these, and then we'll drill a pilot hole and go. All right, double checked, everything's good. Punch a hole about in the center here with a little guide. Just helps get the drill bit set. I'm going to do a couple different steps on my way up to the 5/8 inch that I need. Starting with a real small one here. All right, pretty good on the center. Half a step up or so, a little ways. Again, I'm just trying to minimize the impact on the step drill so that it's a little easier to cut. I don't want to have to push so hard that I deform this thing. Light pressure, this is one of those where it's important to have sharp drill bits. What are they, carbide, I think, drill bits are the ones that are nice. They're expensive, but they last. It's worth the pain, worth the expense. Alright, so now I've drilled out to where the hole and the paper is, but remember that the paper was traced from the inside, so this, I expect the diameter of this as it sits right here is going to be smaller. So I just went over to the other side and cleaned that hole up a little bit because it was not round, and made sure that I am correct on size. Alright, so there we go. That's drilled out. And now the fender should fit just fine. The bumper. There it is. So this is the brackets that hold the bumpers on. And I'm just cleaning these all up here because they're going to get hit with epoxy primer and then with some Raptor liner, because the inside of the boot, like I had mentioned, is going to be inside Raptor liner on the bottom. These are the bottom brackets. But you can see here that these brackets were installed, I believe, when the car was painted. And the reason I say that is because the backed up side of it here, this is the side that bolts in, that's not protected whatsoever. So they did no rust corrosion prevention, any paint or coating or anything on that guy. And obviously you can see there's body color there. So I'm going to go ahead and clean all these up, throw the remainder for the nooks and crannies into the sandblaster. I haven't used that in a while, and keep going. Got all of those cleaned up pretty well. There's inside the bolt holes I couldn't get in there. I'm using glass bead, if I remember right, on the sandblaster, and that stuff's about had it. It's not very sharp anymore. I did all my suspension and a lot of components with that thing. I got like those little corners in here that I still got to get, but I'm happy with this for now. And the man cold is starting to kick a little bit. I think it might be the dust. I'm not quite sure, but we'll see. I'm going to try to keep a little bit of body work going. I want to try to shrink these couple of spots out that I showed you earlier and see if I can have any luck with those. Maybe do a little bit of blocking on that, and seeing how I feel when that's done. Going to try the metal shrink in here. So I got a high spot right here. You can see where all the high spots are. That looks about the focal point of where my oil canning is. Everything else here is pretty tight. It doesn't feel too bad. I can kind of feel the high spot right in here. So hopefully I'll shrink this up, draw it from here,
And then I got another one, I don't know if that's on camera or not, over here that I'll see. So I got my shrinking disc. I remember the name this time, Ellen. Got a rag that's wet. Got a spray bottle that's obviously got wetness inside of it. And we'll see what I can do here. Hopefully it doesn't make it worse. Alright, that shrunk big time. That's a huge low spot now. I think what I'll do is I'll try to chase this high spot that's here into this low spot that's here now that I just made. So I'm gonna, like I normally do, off dolly. So I'll lift up, put the dolly under this spot right here now that is low, and beat down into this and kind of try to push it over a little bit. We'll see if that works. Yeah, I think I'm definitely going to need the heat there to try to shrink that up. Let's see. See if we get lucky. Alright, so I just made another huge low spot. Alright, so at the end of the day, I don't think I did anything with that oil canning. I'm alright. It feels okay. Doesn't really feel like I have too many highs and lows. There might be something going on in here, but it's time for another round of filler on that. Or I mean epoxy on that. I'm going to go around and just check the rest of the body out. It's only about noon, but I'm starting to drag a little bit. So I don't think I'm going to paint today. That'll probably just totally mess up my cold. So go around and do some tidying up and see what I can see and stuff like that. Alright, I just kind of made my way around and took care of the little spots that I could get some of the old fiberglass filler and stuff like that off. There's still some blocking work I need to do here, but the man cold is winning out, and I'm just afraid it's going to aggravate it having to do all the dust production stuff and everything. So not too bad, but the next I think the next course of action here will be to get this all down 180 grit and then get another round of epoxy primer on it and hopefully do some final filler blocking in preparation for paint. Alright guys, that's it for me today. Thanks for watching. Please leave a comment below, tell me what you think. Hate to cut a visit short because I'm not feeling so hot, but so be it. I also watch YouTube analytics and know that once I start talking at the end here, you guys stop watching. So have a good rest of your weekend. Cheers.